Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kseniya. I make videos for people who are going through the family immigration process. I'm not an attorney. My videos are based on public information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers, and the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. In today's video, I will be showing you how to fill out the form I-864EZ, which is an easier version of the affidavit of support. Before we jump into this video, I do want you guys to watch the video I just posted on my channel talking about the different variations of the affidavit of support form. And after watching that video, if you feel like I-864EZ is the form for you, then this is your guide. So to find the form, go to the uscis.gov website, and in the search box you can type in I-864EZ. Go to the first link. In order to be able to fill out these applications properly, I do recommend that you fill them out using the Adobe Acrobat Reader for desktop. It is a free application. You do not have to pay anything for this program. You do not have to subscribe to the premium version. But with these particular forms, especially when it comes to calculating the household size, the only proper way to do it is by using Adobe. So you can click on the form itself, and before you start filling out this form, click on the download button, save it to your computer, and then open it using Adobe. Make sure to always double check the expiration date at the top of the form, as well as the edition date at the bottom left of the form. You should be using whatever the expiration and the edition date is available on the USCIS site. In part 1, you're going to do a quick little check whether you are eligible to use this form. You have to answer yes to all 3 of these checkboxes. Number 1, I am the petitioner, so this form is only available for petitioning sponsors, so click yes. I am using my own earned or retirement income, which is documented using Form W-2. So the income you are using must be entirely dependent on your salary or pension documented on your W-2s. So a person who is self-employed or a business owner or an independent contractor is not eligible to use this form. So we must click yes to this question also. And the final criteria is that the sponsored immigrant is the only person immigrating based on the underlying visa petition. So what you need to keep in mind is if you are petitioning multiple relatives using separate petitions, I-130 for example, then you still may be able to use this form if you meet all other criteria. So the only time you cannot use this form is if your immigrating relative also has derivative children and or spouses that are immigrating with them and that are included on the same visa petition. Moving on to part 2, provide the information about the intending immigrant, so the person you are sponsoring. So let's say for our case, this is a spousal-based petition. So we'll provide the name of our beneficiary and their mailing address. In care of name is only necessary for those people who do not reside at their mailing address, and if somebody else receives mail on their behalf, or if they are a minor and their parent receives mail on their behalf. In most situations, if you receive mail at the address where you live, then you can just skip line 2A and write the beneficiary's address here. If your beneficiary is overseas, then here you will write their overseas address. If your beneficiary is inside the United States adjusting status, then you will write their address in the USA. I do quite often get a question why I write American addresses here, and the reason is the beneficiary is not always overseas, and this form is also used for people who are adjusting status. If their foreign address does not fit into these lines, what you can do is after printing this form, you can simply use a black pen to neatly write their address in this section. Moving on, provide the beneficiary's phone number. If your beneficiary has a foreign phone number that includes special characters such as a plus sign, then you can also write it after printing. Provide the beneficiary's date of birth. If your beneficiary has an A number, you can write it here. But in majority of situations, beneficiaries do not have an alien number, so you can leave it blank. In majority of situations, beneficiaries also do not have an online USCIS account number. You only get an online account number if you, the beneficiary, has ever filed any applications online. If you don't have it, you can leave it blank. Your beneficiary may equally not have a social security number, so you can also leave this blank. Moving on, provide the information about the sponsor. So fill out the sponsor's name and the sponsor's mailing address. Next, answer the question if you, the sponsor, have the same physical and mailing address. If you reside at this address also, then click the box yes. If, however, your mailing address is a PO box or an address of a family member or of a friend that you're using to receive USCIS correspondence, but you live somewhere else, then click the no box and provide your actual physical address. In our case, we'll just say that our mailing address is the same as our physical address. Moving on, provide the petitioner's country of domicile. It should be USA. And provide the petitioner's date of birth. Provide the petitioner's city or town of birth, state and country of birth, and the social security number. If you are the kind of petitioner who has filed the I-130 petition online, you may already have an online USCIS account number, which can be located in your USCIS account in the drop-down menu under Profile. But if you do not yet have an account number or you cannot locate it, you can leave it blank. Next, provide your citizenship or nationality status. We'll say we are a US citizen. And even if you are a naturalized US citizen and at some point in the past you had an alien number, then you should be providing your alien number here. Next, answer if you are on active duty in the US Army. And next, provide information about our household size. So the default for this form is 2 because it includes yourself, which is the petitioner, and your beneficiary. So it's already counted here under item 1, yourself and the person you're sponsoring. Please be very careful about calculating the household size, especially if you're filling out this application for your spouse. You will notice that the item 1B here asks to count your spouse, but they do make it very clear that you should not count any household member more than once because your spouse is already counted under item 1A. We're simply going to leave the box 1B blank. If you have any dependent children under the age of 21, count them here. If you have children under 18, no matter where they live and no matter their tax filing status, you should count them here. If you have children who are of age, which means over 18, but they are dependent on your tax returns still, you should also count them here. If you have sons or daughters who are over the age 21, who are also still dependent on your taxes, you also need to count them under any other dependents if they are listed on your most recent federal income tax return. And even in a situation where our petitioner had stepchildren for whom they are submitting a separate petition, they still should be counting these stepchildren here. If you have ever sponsored anybody else using the form I-864 who are now lawful permanent residents, you should also count them here. If you were a petitioner for somebody else in the past, or if you were a joint sponsor for somebody else in the past, if those people are now lawful permanent residents, you must count them here. And like we said before, if you had any other dependents listed on your tax returns, you can write them here. Moving on. Provide your current employment information. So you need to select whether you are employed or retired. So let's say we are an employed person. So provide your current occupation and the name of your employer. If you have more than one employer, you can provide your second employer here as well. If you are retired, you will then have to answer questions 3A through 3B. In either situation, employed or retired, you have to provide your current individual annual income. You can simply estimate what is your annual income between January and December. You equally can also look at your prior year's W-2s. In my case, I'm simply going to estimate that my current individual income is about $90,000 a year. Moving on to the federal income tax information. First, you need to state whether you have filed federal income tax returns for each of the 3 most recent tax years. Keep in mind that you only must attach a photocopy or transcript for the most recent tax year, and you are only required to meet the income requirements for the most recent tax year. You do not have to be meeting the income requirements for all 3 tax years. So let's say in our case, we have filed tax returns for all 3 tax years. The next question is an optional question that says that you can also attach photocopies or transcripts of your federal income tax returns for the second and third most recent tax year. You only should be checking this box if the second and the third most recent tax years met the income requirements also. So if you only meet the income requirements based on your most recent tax returns, then you should not be attaching those tax returns. Let's say in our case, the second and third tax years also met the income requirements, and we're also going to attach them here. Moving on, please pay close attention to this particular portion of the application. You're going to have to provide your total income as reported on your federal income tax returns. Please do not make the mistake of only writing here the amounts from W-2s. We're going to carefully look at our tax returns or tax return transcripts in the total income line, line 9. This is the number that you're going to copy into your form exactly as it appears in that line. Please note that you are not looking at adjusted gross income line. And I also made a video specifically spelling out why it is a requirement to write total income line and not AGI. Even if you are the kind of petitioner who files your taxes jointly with your spouse, you will notice that the total income line on your tax returns shows your joint income with your spouse. You are only planning to use your own income for the purposes of this form. You still must write these amounts exactly as they appear in your tax returns. For this very reason, you're also going to attach copies of your own W-2s to demonstrate which part of that jointly filed income actually belongs to you. And like we said before, if all 3 of these years meet the income requirements, then you can write them here. However, if the 2nd or the 3rd most recent years did not meet the income requirements, in that case, you are not going to write anything in this line at all. You will only need to provide the proof of the years where you have met the income requirements. Moving on to part 6, where you will have to carefully read what your responsibilities as a sponsor are. And once you read all that, you can provide your statement, contact information, and signature. So check off if you can read and understand English and if you filled out this form by yourself. If somebody interpreted this form for you, you can check box 1B and provide the language to which this form was translated for you. If somebody filled out this form for you, you can check box 2 and write the name of the person who prepared this form for you. Please note that all signatures must be made in pen. You cannot sign this form using a digital pen, and you cannot sign this form by typing. You must print it out and sign it. Parts 7 and 8 are referred to the interpreter and preparer who may have filled out and interpreted this form for you. If you did not use an interpreter or a preparer, you can simply leave these sections blank. And finally, we arrive on the very last page of this form, which is called additional information. Even if you're not planning to write anything on this page, you still must write your name and include it with your application. So let's briefly talk about the evidence that you will need to provide. If you are an employed petitioner, this form, a copy of your status, a copy of your tax return transcripts or tax return form 1040, although USCIS does have a preference for tax return transcripts instead, which can easily be downloaded off of the IRS site. And when selecting the type of transcript, just make sure that you are selecting the return transcripts. Next, you will also attach a copy of your W-2. If you are sending all 3 years of tax returns or tax return transcripts, they must also be accompanied by all 3 years of W-2s. You may also attach copies of your pay stubs for the past 6 months and an employment verification letter to prove your current individual income. If you are a retired sponsor, you will need to provide the following evidence: a completed form I-864EZ, proof of your U.S. status, your tax return transcripts, if applicable, if you do file those, copies of your 1099-Rs that show your retirement income, your SSA retirement statement, and 12 months of bank statements showing the direct deposit of your retirement or pension. So, I hope that you found this video useful. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Bye!